There's so much power in vulnerability and storytelling. Like, you really are healing parts of yourself, but you're also healing parts of other people when you are doing that. And I think that that's like, again, I said I feel like I've always been vulnerable, but I probably did take it to a next level because I'm seen by so many more people now.
Welcome to the Prosperity Playground, the podcast where business meets energetics, strategy meets soul, and prosperity becomes inevitable. I'm your host, Anna Lozano, mom, founder, investor, mentor, and energetics in business expert. This is your weekly activation to rewire how you think and feel about wealth, success, and personal power, because it's not about working harder, it's about regulating deeper, aligning stronger, and receiving wider. You don't hustle for your future, you calibrate to your higher self. Join me weekly for high-level conversations with the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and thought leaders. True prosperity isn't just about money. It's about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Welcome to the playground. Let's build your most prosperous life. Welcome back to the Prosperity Playground podcast. Today, I'm joined by Kelly Chase. Kelly is an entrepreneur, social influencer, podcast host, speaker, and reality TV star, best known for her role as a castmate on the breakaway hit Netflix show, Love is Blind, Season 1. With over 350,000 followers on social media, Kelly uses her platform and voice to inspire others to chase life and make the most of where they are in their journey. It is part of Kelly's life's purpose to teach all that she has learned to women all around the world, and she believes that if she can feel this newfound confidence, inner love, worthiness, and expansion, that she can help other women feel the same way and empower them to fully step into their greatness. In this episode, we dive into the real behind-the-scenes lessons of being a cast member on Love is Blind, Season 1, identity evolution after instant fame and why the nervous system has to catch up first, vulnerability, subconscious reprogramming, and the money-love connection. Connect with us on Instagram and let us know what resonated the most from this episode. We'd love to expand together, and we hope that you enjoy this conversation. Let's dive in. Kristina, welcome to the Prosperity Playground podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Oh, I am so honored to be here. Thank you so much. You have had the most amazing guests I probably have ever seen in a podcast launch. I said that on Lori's podcast when I recorded the other day. And so I am just so honored to be among them.
Oh, exactly. I'm so happy. And I know your husband's going to be editing this, so that's even more fun.
Hi, Josh.
Hello. I love this. Oh my gosh. So I was preparing for this interview, and as I mentioned before, we're going to get tactical, we're going to get practical, we're going to get strategies, everything about community building through different platforms. But I actually want to share a story with you that I don't think I've shared with you. So for everyone listening, Kristina and her team are behind this podcast. When I was launching, I was like, okay, of course I'm going to call the Social Snippet co-owned by Kristina. But interestingly enough, how I learned about you. So my private client in 2024 went to your High Vibe Women event in Guelph, I believe it was.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool.
And she comes back. She was like, this was the best event in Ontario, in Canada that I have ever been to. And she's like, I want to see you on stage. And I was like, oh, okay, me on stage. I don't even know what this event is. I don't know this community. So I started diving in deep and obviously fell in love with you and Maria. I attended High Vibe Women in October, and like, look how far we've come ever since that.
Oh my goodness. And like, so funny because I honestly feel one, like you and I were like meant to become little buddies because our worlds are like so overlapped. But it's just amazing what happens when you get in the room. You know what I mean? You get in the room, and it's so amazing that even your private client said to you, like, I want to see you on stage. We can talk more about that in a bit, but like, it's just so incredible. Like, when we get to believe for each other and create these spaces.
100%. And I know you're nowhere near as woo as I am. Like, I'm pretty woo. And you talk about that on stage, you know, the synchronicities and all that. But I think this is evidence of resonance and energy. And when you're meant to meet someone, you eventually will. And so
Totally.
Yeah, I'm just really excited about our friendship. I'm so grateful for your entire team and the launch of this podcast. Like, I've been thinking about a podcast for like 3 years. So that's something else we're going to talk about, like the power of podcasting, but we're going to go in sequence. So I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but I couldn't have done it without you guys, because there's just so much that obviously it's one product in this entire brand business that I'm building. And so having a supportive team who knows what they're doing, who are experts in their craft, is just, heck yes. If you're thinking about a podcast, get a team, because you can't do it all alone.
100%. And honestly, I think it's so interesting because so many people, especially entrepreneurs, like we're so used to being scrappy, right? Like that's who we are. So many people will start a podcast and then they come to us and they're like, okay, I've done like 10 episodes. Like I can't continue. I can't go on. And I'm like, you missed so much goodness in the launch. Like, so honestly, I think investing in the team is the right thing. I don't do my own bookkeeping. Like, you gotta invest.
This is exactly it. Okay. I'm going to move my notes down and we're going to dive into podcasting, since this is what we're talking about. Tell me a little bit about the journey and what you feel the foundations are of building a thriving community as we move into 2026.
Yeah, so the Social Snippet is almost 5 years old. In May will be 5 years old. And we kind of got started by, honestly, Maria and I both loved social media. I had like a little side business. We were doing social media for it. Everything was like selling like hotcakes. And so we started to like offer social, like, and it was so like low key. Like it was like, we were like, well, we'll see like kind of what happens. And it was bananas, like from day one.
Wow.
Within 8 months, I had quit my, my 6-figure job. Maria was already full time in the business. We had employees, like we were like fully going. We had a lot of self-belief. So even though I'm not the most woo, I would say like I've done a lot of mindset work. So I think that was a huge piece of my experience. And so, really we got started, we only did social. We would help people through social media. It was done for you. We had like, a few offerings. But really what we found as we were building out our agency was the way we were getting clients was, like not similarly to the way you do things. Like we were going to live events, we were pouring into people, we were connecting, and we realized that like that was actually like the magic was like the in-person, the relationships, the referral partners. Like that's what was really growing our business. Like, and like you came to me via Rochelle Sable. And like, even though we were kind of in the same world, definitely knew you, from Love Powered Co. and Stacy and all of that. Yes. But you came to me through Rochelle Sable. Rochelle Sable came to me through a friend I met at a mastermind. Like, so it's like, that's the way that these things worked. And so we started to notice that. We came home to Canada, and we were like, where are these events? Like, where are these events that, are like everywhere in the US, like constantly. Yes. And we couldn't find, there's a few communities that we could name, but like, they weren't doing events super frequently, and we couldn't figure out like what they were doing. And so we're like, what if we just like put on some dinners? We put on some little dinners. That's when High Vibe Women was born. And then that grew into our large scale events. And then podcasting kind of happened during that time as well, because I had a podcast, the community podcast, which I'll have you on shortly. And, it was really focused on helping people learn how to build community, how to network, how to market, like all of that. And I love doing it. And our clients were like, I'd love a podcast. We're like, well, we know how to do it. Like, why don't we just try it? And so that has grown exponentially. And that's really like our story is like, we see a bit of a gap and we're like, okay, like, let's do it. Let's do it messy. Let's try it. And even our dinners, our first few dinners, like we made no money. Like it was not really even about money. It was about like, we joke, we're like one of them, we made $9 and then we realized we didn't factor in the gas. And we're like, oh, it's a win. It's a win. Like we were like so happy about it. And now, we've been able to make them more profitable and now they have swag and now there's like all these things that are added to it. And it's grown so much, but yeah, it's been a journey of getting started. And so anyone who's listening to this in 2026, I think really if you're trying to build community, like it starts with you. Like it starts with you having conversations, with having relationships. And Anna, like you are, I like not to, fluff you up too much so early on the podcast, but you are the most audacious entrepreneur. I say that and it sounds like almost like an insult, and it's not at all, because you are somebody who you're like, I want to know that person and I'm gonna know them.
I'm going for it.
Yes. And I even, me and Stacey recently were talking about this and I was like, how does one get the balls of Anna Lozano? Like, I want them. Like, you know, it's like so amazing. And so I think it starts with you. It starts with people like you, where you ask a question. You're like, hey, I want to know you. I'd love to jump on a Zoom. I'd love to have you on my podcast. I'd love to have that connection. And you build that rapport. And I think if anyone's lacking community, I think that's the place to start.
That's the place to start. But what do you think? So you said you guys, you were filling in gaps very beautifully. But what do you think generated that momentum for you? Is it who you are? Was it the strategy? Like, what do you actually think it was? Because not every business launches and has the success that you guys have had. I kind of have the answer, but I'm curious what you're going to say.
Yeah, I honestly think it's our like relationship capital. Like that has been really what it has been for that I can see. I think we're like, when it comes to social media and podcasting, I think we're really knowledgeable. We have a lot of expertise. We've done it over and over again. You know, we have a very particular client we like to serve on the social side, podcasting side. We can almost serve anybody. Like it's like we have kind of a formula, but really what it has been, and like what has been the like lead generator, the thing over and over again that brings in clients, like the thing that keeps growing our business, has been relationship. Like Anna, there's masterminds I was in 4 years ago that still give me referrals. Like that's like, and no joke. Like I go to an event and like I'll see someone from 5 years ago and I'll say some of that is a personal skill, right? Like we've talked about this on human design, right? Like we have a similar line, and see, that's as about as woo as I can get. Like, that's as far as the line stop there. But
4-6, are you a 4-6 sacral generator?
I'm a 2-4.
Okay. So the 4 is the networker. That's where you and I super connect. So the relationship building is a skill. We're going to dive into that next. But here's what I think. And this is really like, now it's time for me to fluff your what do we call them? You know, sometimes my Polish comes out and I'm like, I forgot what the saying is, but it's like your heart, Kristina, like I have witnessed you in action. So I've been going to events for over a decade. And what I witnessed with you and Maria is this, number one is like, first and foremost, you girls are very successful, but there's this humbleness and this heart and this authenticity that just exudes. Like I have goosebumps right now. This is the woo. This is my God bumps. And I haven't, and this is just like love on you, is like you don't always witness this. And what that does is you create a safe space for the women who are in the community that you're building. And it's not the Kristina Maria show. It is you are there in service for the growth and expansion for the women who are investing to be at whatever it is you're curating. And witnessing this in action was just so beautiful. So not only do you open the space and hold the space, but you know it's not about you, it's about the growth. And when you put the ego to the side, this is where you experience the growth that you've experienced. And so
thank you.
You girls are amazing.
That is so sweet. And honestly, I think that has been such a big driver of High Vibe Women for us, Anna, is that like, we say this all the time. We're like, this is like not really even about us. Like, it's not about us. It's not about the speakers on stage. It's about the people in the room. Yeah. And like, that's where I, like, you know, Anna, something that like, you know, you and I are just like mutually loving on each other, but like something I really appreciate about you is you are also very successful. You sold a business, like you've grown a 7-figure business, like you have all these things. And when you had reached out to me, you know, you and I had kind of chatted. I was kind of like, oh, our like speaker roster's done. Like we're done for this event. And you're like, great, I'm going to go.
Of course.
And that is not the norm.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so I will say, for those of you listening, even if you do have a successful business, being in the room is still so powerful. Yes. And I think sometimes people miss that, Anna, where like they miss the opportunity to network. They miss the opportunity to make connections because they might think they're too far to be in a room, or they are like, they don't see the opportunity of the people who they're sitting with or the connections. And you have no idea who you could sit with who could absolutely change your life and your business. And I think for me and Maria, like that was the magic, was like, we were going to these big events, you know, Lori and Chris's mastermind, which was like kind of where we got started. Yeah. And I know you had Lori on the show and she's the best. And I remember Lori saying, she said, and this like sits with me all the time. She's like, it's actually not about the people on the stage. It's about the people in the seats, because that's who you're on your come up with.
Yes.
And every stage I've spoken on, every single stage I've spoken on, any like big business opportunity I've gone, it hasn't been, Lori and Chris have given me referrals, but like it hasn't been the people who've been on the stage who have been like, wow, I'm going to change your life. It's the people I'm sitting with who are like, oh, I actually have a connection for you. Like you're coming up against this problem. Like I know somebody. And so that's the real beauty, I think, of it, is like, you know, for those of you who are interested in running events or whatever, like we don't even speak at our own events, really.
Yeah,
typically.
you don't.
Like,
it's not your
might
show.
be on a panel. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's funny. Someone reached out to me, and I think you'll laugh. She was like, "Could I MC your event?" And I was like, "Hey, that is actually the only thing I do. So I have to.
That's
I
my
have to
role.
do that one." Yeah, I was like, you can't take it. But yeah, like I think it's really just about like fostering the audience of the community.
Yes, it's so true. And I feel like and what you said is like getting in the room. So I have a little mantra, and this is where like the woo comes out, is like even before your event. So I had decided end of 2025, 26, this is my year to invest in live events. One is like, we're all zoomed out. Like there has been so much Zoom since, post 2020. And so like getting in the room and like hugging another human feels so good, but just being in person. And so as I was, preparing for the event, doing all the external things and buying the clothes and doing my hair, I was, going inward and saying, okay, what is the intention for this? And not just for what am I going to receive, but what am I going to give? Because actually High Vibe Women being in Burlington was such a unique opportunity to be back where we built Love Powered. And so there was a lot of emotion. There was a lot of like, excitement, but also grief. Like this is where like my 2 babies were born. And so there was just a lot of emotion going into this High Vibe Women event in October. And I literally said, I'm like, God, place me in front of the faces and in the seats of the women who I'm meant to meet. And then I surrendered and I was like, okay, like, let's see how good this gets to be. And let's see, what are the opportunities, the connections, the expansion that when I connect with the people I'm meant to connect with, I will experience. And I have to say, one of the best events I've been to in a long, long time. And so I'm so excited for March. You guys, we have $50 off the ticket. I'm just going to drop that in right here since we're talking about it. That'll be in the show notes, but March 7th, this is your next event. Also, like back-to-back conferences, like you girls are just on fire. So you just hosted like a 300-person event in October. You're doing it again in March. So what do you feel for the founders who are investing in live events? Yeah. How should they prepare so that they come in with like hearts open, but it is a mutual exchange? Because I do believe in ROI, as do you, right? But I do believe in this law of reciprocity of like giving and receiving. So how do you think founders should prepare for events like the High Vibe Women conference coming up?
Yeah, it's such a great question, Anna. Like, I think the big piece is really just leaning into service. Like, that has been how I've gotten the most ROI. And I know you agree with this too, where it's like, I don't go into rooms being like, okay, like I spent $500 on this ticket and like, so I need $1,000 back to make this worth it. Like I have had ROI come from events years later and, and more than I could have ever imagined. There's been masterminds. There's a mastermind I paid $5,000 to be in. I'm confident I made $1 million on it.
Wow.
I'm confident, like confident.
Wow.
So it's like, but I never sell. Never. Like, and if you and I had met at High Vibe Women and you're like, I need to do a podcast, I'd be like, let me know if you have any questions. You might not even know I offer podcasting. That's just not the way that I sell. I would have asked you, what are you struggling with right now? Like what's happening in your business? What can I do to bring you closer to a goal that you're looking to work on? And you might be like, hey, I'm looking to launch a podcast. I'm looking for my website to be redone. I'm like, I've got a connection. Like always trying to connect people, which I know is our mutual thing. And so I really just look to see how I could serve people. And even like one of the things I do that's such an underrated hack is like when I go to an event, if I talk to somebody, I write their name down and I put 2 stars next to it. And then I write down anything that they need. So they might say, oh, I'm looking for a book publisher. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. I will write that down. And when I go home, I go through my notebook and I'm like, okay, who could I serve? How do I serve that person? I'll send voice notes being like, I've been thinking about this. I have a connection for you. Do you want a connection? Like really building that network for people. I joke because you had Allie from Organic Traditions on and she's so great. And so Allie and I met through Founders Club and which you're a new member.
Yay!
And so Allie and I met and she's like, I'm thinking about like, I'd love to be in like a podcast or two. And I was like, yeah, no problem. And so I introduced her to like many of people, like so many people. And she reached out back and she's like, I meant like 1 or 2 podcasts, but like, thank you so much. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Because it's nothing for me to do that. Right. And so I think it's like really just seeing like how you can present your gifts to other people and really like your blessings. And I like network for my network, like that like Brendan Burchard always talks about that like it's like the gift and the blessing of being able to be like, I know Anna does this so well. And so when I meet like a product-based founder who's like, you know, struggling with something, I'm like, Anna is the person you should talk to about this because she scaled a business and this is like what you should talk to her about it. I don't need to tell you I've done it. I don't need anything in return. Like, I just know that this will come around. So I would say that's the big thing with going to an event is like seeing how you can be like of service.
Right.
And the other thing I would say, and you know, this is something that is close to me, but you don't need to meet everybody. And I think when people go to big events and they'll see like 200 people in a room and they're like, okay, like in order for me to get my return, I need to meet 150 of these people and I need to have 100 new Instagram followers. And this is what I need it to look like. You could have one connection that could totally shift your business, your life, like all of that. So what could you do to actually lean into that and like be like, I'm really looking for one good solid connection. So when I went to Founders Forum in New York, the Founders Club event, I truly met 3 people. Like at the end of it, I met lots of people, but like 3 people. 1, I might be starting a quasi other side business with. 2 became clients that day, right? I didn't need to meet more people. Like, so I think it's really about like that, like quality over quantity, because it's easy to get overwhelmed.
100%. And I think this is a beautiful perspective because, you know, you and I have this line for, we're naturally connectors, we're naturally networkers, but for the people listening, for the women listening who aren't, and walking into a room of 300 people feels overwhelming. Like, it feels overwhelming for me in moments as well, right? And so it's like, I can only imagine, okay, I'm an introvert, I'm coming here alone, I don't know anyone. I think what you just shared is applicable across the board for everybody. It's like, one is service led, like heart open. Who am I meant to connect with? And I also feel like sometimes when you come with this energy of like, what am I getting out of this? Like, that's against universal laws and principles. That's lack and greed, and that comes boomeranging right back. So that's not
And people see it.
And people feel it. Yeah, they see it and feel it. And so naturally you will repel possibly the people that you are meant to meet. And it was interesting because after your event, I went to another event in San Diego right after. And same thing, very open. Your event, there was a lot of quantity in terms of my interactions. And I also do feel it's because there was that connection with Love Powered Co. and being on the ground in Burlington. So it was beautiful. Like, it was a very wide event. A lot of people I reconnected with, a lot of new beautiful women that I'm so excited to see again now in March, because these relationships are being built behind the scenes through Instagram, through voice notes. And then I went to San Diego unattached, because that was how your event went. And so what transpired in San Diego was I actually didn't meet anyone new. I met possibly 2 new people, but I deepened relationships with women who I knew on Instagram, that now those relationships have that depth, which they didn't have before. So 2 very different experiences at 2 large events. And again, it's because I'm asking to be guided and I'm going in this energy of service versus what am I getting out of it? And we both said, though, the ROI comes in reciprocity. It comes in this giving and receiving loop. You will be taken care of when you show up with an open heart.
100%. And I was going to say too, Anna, like, one of the things that I actually sometimes forget, so I'm just going to share this because I think this could be helpful to somebody. You might not hit it the first time, right? You might meet someone. There's somebody I met. I remember I met her like probably 4 years ago, and we met, and I kind of was like, "This is awkward." Like, like you and I are like, me and this person were not connected. Like, not in a bad way, just like we weren't.
There's no resonance.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah. Like, I'm not a match to everyone at all times, right? And then we went to another event, and we were placed next to each other to sit for dinner, and I was like, no. I'm here to meet new people. And so we sat next to each other, and we had an amazing dinner.
Wow.
And we've turned out to do a bunch of business together. And and her and I were both acknowledged. We're like, the first time I think we were just trying to
vibing.
It wasn't a fit. Yeah. And now we like really vibe, right? So sometimes you can meet somebody, or like I met someone at one of Lori's events, and her and I, we didn't really connect. She invited me to speak at her event. I'm going to speak at her event. Now we're like super connected, and like we've been talking all the time. Like, it takes the right type of interaction, right? And so I think it's like always like about that, and like in terms of the way that you show up, like I think you and I both acknowledge that, like, you know, no, I will say, like, in business, it's not always rainbows and butterflies.
No.
I don't know. No, yeah. I was like, Anna, is it rainbows and butterflies
No.
only for you? And sometimes you're on the down and you go to one of these events,
Yes.
right? And I remember a friend of mine saying like, oh, like when you go to those types of events, like people can sense when you're on the down and you treat it like a meat market,
Yes.
or you treat it like this type of thing, you can't recover from that. But I think if you go in and you're honest and you're like, hey, like actually, like this is something I'm struggling with right now, or I'm looking for this, like I'm looking for these types of introductions, people rally for you. And I think you have to be
100%.
open to receiving those types of blessings from others.
Yes. Okay. So I think those are two huge hacks. One is when you're meeting, so first of all, heart open. So going in there in service, that's number one. Two, I love your notes hack. So writing down the person's name who you met, 2 stars. How can you be of service to them? I think this is huge. 3 is this radical honesty. 1 is I'm having a shitty day if you're having a shitty day, without like bringing that energy, just being honest. But with that, being really specific as to what you need to move your needle forward as well, because this is that beautiful loop that we've talked about again. So how can you serve someone, and then what do you need in order to grow? Because here's what I found with women's networking events also is we're such givers, and we want to give and we want to support and we want to serve, but you're also a founder, you're also an entrepreneur. So be clear as to what you desire in order to move your needle forward. That way, if you meet a Kristina who loves to be of service, that's giving you pleasure and joy as well to support that other founder.
Totally. Yeah,
Right.
100%. And I think just being open in the ask too, and like really just being open to those introductions as well. Because I think sometimes, and I don't know about you if you've experienced this, but I sometimes meet entrepreneurs that are too proud to take help.
Ah, okay.
And
Yep.
And I think there's something to that. Like, take the introduction, ask the question, ask the expert. Like, I bet people listening to this podcast are probably far from that because they're the people who are listening. They love
Growing.
coaching, like that kind of thing. But I have definitely seen in the community where, they're not open to receiving that feedback or receiving that introduction. And I think that's really where the magic is.
100%. So I think do the work beforehand so that you're really clear as to what you can offer to the community and what you're looking to receive back. And interestingly enough, through the universal laws, you will likely be placed exactly next to the people who you are meant to meet. So I love that. And then what do you have for us in terms of like post-event follow-up strategy? Because you said you don't like being salesy. That's not your vibe. I think that gives off really an ick factor, especially for women. Like, what is your follow-up strategy post-events?
Yeah. So one of the things I think is really important is like, because I'll learn from my mistakes, I will say, like, in years in business. But one of the things that I really struggled with is when you go to too many events, like, so if you overdo it, it's like the fortune is in the follow-up. So that is the truth, is like when you're going to events, you make a great connection in person. Maybe you write down someone's name and you want to connect with them. If you don't have the like adequate time to connect with the people and do that, like right now I'm in a season that, you and I were just talking about this, like I'm a new mom. And so it's like, I'm working full time. So it's really interesting because people will be like, do you want to connect? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to have to be in April, but like, I'm there for it. Right. That's not ideal. Right. So I really limit how much I'm doing because I don't want to feel guilty about that. And so what I would say is really just making sure you have the time and space for it. And so when I go to an event, I always block off a day the next week and I will send out emails. I'll send out, like in my early days, like Anna, like in the early days when I would get those books from events and you would be like, okay, these are all the people that were there. I would email every single person.
I love that.
And if I was in a mastermind, I would DM, voice note every single person with my calendar link and be like, I would love to connect. I think if you're in a season where you've got more time, and like probably more time than money, and that's like really what you're like in right now, then I would say that's perfect. Go follow up with people, send people voice notes. People love that. And ask, what are you working on right now? What can I be of service? Here's a calendar link. Would love to connect, like keeping those relationships open. And if you're an early stage business owner, I would say, I'm telling you, start a CRM early of people you've connected with and like what they do. This is a mistake I've made. I'm trying to retroactively fix it right now, and it's taking years off my life. So I would say do that. So I would say take a day, really follow up with the people, send the voice notes, tell people what you're doing, and also be a woman of your word.
Yes.
This is something that I see a lot with events and stuff, is that like people be like, oh, I'll do this for you. And then you're to never hear from that person again. That sticks with someone.
Yeah, they'll
way
remember.
more than you not saying anything, right? So if you're like, I'm gonna do an intro for you, or I have a connection, or I have this to do, you know what I mean? Like being able to just do that, I think is huge. But I think really it's about that follow-up, fortune of the follow-up, and just making sure that's not slimy. Like I don't sell anything unless the person asked you explicitly, hey, can you send me a podcasting package? Then I will.
Yeah.
But if someone says they're interested in podcasting, I'm not sending them pricing.
You're
like,
not sending, yeah.
we're going to have a conversation, then we can go to the next level. So I think that that's the piece is like really just remaining in that service energy, and finding the time to reconnect with your connections.
I love it. And for anyone listening who is like feeling anxiety right now, like, oh my gosh, I'm not like them. What advice do you have? They're like, I know I need to go to events, but I don't have a line for in my human design. I'm not like Anna Kristina. I'm way more, maybe shy, introverted, early stage. Like, what advice do you have for them?
So I would say two things. Like one, it's like the first thing I would say is don't underestimate like what you can do for people.
100%. Yeah.
And I think that that's something I really learned. And this is like a very short story I can share, but I was in Chris and Lori's Fast Foundations program. That's how I got to know them. And then I did the Elite Mastermind. I've done a bunch of the stuff and have grown a friendship with them that I love. And I remember I coach right now in their current mastermind, and they were like describing me or whatever. And I thought this was funny, but they said, the way that we got to know Kristina is Kristina would listen to our podcast and post it so like relentlessly that, cause it was like really the only thing I knew. I was like listening to them and Jenna Kutcher. I don't know how I got on this train. This was the only podcast I had access to. They would post it so relentlessly that it was like impossible for us to ignore. Like she was just there at front of mind. And then she did Fast Foundations. We made the connection and then all that. And then we built a friendship. But that was a time where I didn't have anything to offer Chris and Lori.
Right.
I didn't have anything like I wasn't going to be giving them business advice. I wasn't going to be talking to them about podcasting. I wasn't going to be, I know Angel, like now it's like, I'm like, oh, Lori's looking for investment. I have a connection. All right. Chris is looking for this. I know somebody like, I'm able to offer more, but at that time I didn't have anything. All I had was, my enthusiasm.
Yes.
And I think it's like, what can you show people? Like how much can you show up for people? And, people love that. So if you're like, hey, that's someone I want to be in their world. It's like, do they have a low ticket program you can invest in? Like, do they have something that they're openly saying they're looking for that you can make an intro? Are they posting content and you're engaging with it? Like that stuff makes a difference. And so I think it doesn't have to be, hi, I'm going to jump on 85 calls and I'm going to blow my business out. Sometimes it's about that slower burn. And I would say, again, it's just focusing on that, like one relationship. Like, can you make one connection with somebody? And if I was to choose somebody, if you were like, I'm trying to figure out who it would be. Like if I went into a room and I'm like, I don't want to make the wrong connection. Like what if it's like something that doesn't lead to anything? One, remain open-minded. But two, I would look for power partners. And those are people in your niche or your industry who don't do the same thing as you, but serve the same person. And so Anna is someone who's like a great power partner for me, right? Where, you're probably not going to start editing podcasts anytime soon.
Oh, no, not on my plans.
Yeah, right? I'm like, not going to be, starting any brand apparel
Pickleball
brands anytime
soon.
Brands. Yes. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was public. I didn't want to launch your brand.
I love it.
Luckily, we could edit it, but I'm not gonna be starting a pickleball like brand anytime soon. So, but like you have people who need podcasting. I have people. I actually know too many people that love pickleball. I would like less pickleball friends. So it's like there is something there, right? And so I think just focusing on that like relationship, and just again that service. Like how can, even if that person seems like 10 years ahead of you, how can you show up for them in a way that's meaningful?
Amazing. And what do you feel about? Because I know Lori talks about this a lot on her social and she's shared this with me also, is like women are trying to come in. So she's cultivated obviously larger community, but she also has her inner circle. So it's like, women trying to be part of the inner circle versus creating their own. And I think there's power in that as well. So what do you think about that for, because yes, we can go wide with these large events that we're talking about, but what do you feel about the power of like an inner circle with women around the same stage of growth as you're in?
Big time. And if you don't see one that you can join or you don't feel welcome in one, like creating one. That has been like masterful for me. Like, early on my inner circle was like Marina Middleton, like Jeanette, who owns Space Creators, like who did the chill space at my event, Ali Hickster, who spoke, like there was like a group of us girls that were really close, and Stacey Millard, like so and still close, but we all do business in different ways now, and like it doesn't mean that like now, you know, we used to meet all the time and we like had this group chat that was super active, and now it doesn't look like that, but it, like we still support each other in so many ways. And I think I have never been the person to look at it. Like I look at Lori and I see Lori, like, you know, in with Jasmine and Amy Porterfield, like I'm not trying to infiltrate that group. Like, you know, you know, Ali Aruda and I always joke about that. Like you will see like them all get together for something and we're like, so weird. We didn't catch the invite.
Where's
like,
my invite?
Yeah, Lori, so sorry, did that get lost in the mail? But we're like always teasing her, and like, but like we know like where things shake, right?
Yeah.
And so what we do is we just create our own group, right? And I think when you're in the energy of like trying to get after other groups and get in with that, like people feel that. So but when you create your own group and you're like, okay, like this is something like I've struggled with too, because you know, I'm like a connector, obviously, right? Like community builder, like through and through. So I plan things all the time, and I'll plan something, and then I'm like, oh my God, I forgot like 18 people. Like there's 18 people that I know would want to be there. And I've had to release some of that because I'm like, these people can also plan things. Like, you know, they can bring their own group together. Like I don't need everyone to do everything with me all the time. And I think like it's easy when we're in business, like we want to maintain all these relationships, which I think is important, but I think like find your group of people and it's going to change as your business changes.
Yes.
Like, you know, my friends when I was growing to 6 figures are different than now that we were scaling past 7 figures. Like I'm looking for different kind of mentorship. I'm looking for different kind of circles. So I think just always being okay with that evolution, but if you don't see it, creating it.
100%. I love that. Okay. So many hacks with in-person events, community building through in-person events. And yeah, I feel like it's so important. I think I'll just summarize with this is like prepare. So write it down, you know, whether you're hopping on a plane or you're driving, you're investing into an event. Put your heart, like open your heart, sit down with a notebook and just allow yourself to get clear as to what you're bringing to the table and what you need to move your needle forward, because this is a business investment. And coming from this like pure, open, loving energy, because if you're rooted in, I need this, or in lack, or in, you know, pressure, or this like, actually the neediness is what creates like a repel energy and repel dynamic. So just, we know the women listening to this podcast don't have that energy, but just get really clear and really specific, and that'll make your entire experience that much more enjoyable and present, because you're going to be in the moment. And so, and use my mantra, like God or universe or whoever you speak to, like place me in front of the places and next to the women, the humans that I'm meant to meet, and trust that it's all unfolding how it's meant to. So that was our in-person event segment, but I'd love to dive into community building through podcasting next. So, you know, this took me a long time to go ahead and launch the Prosperity Playground. I was always like, I'm a generator. I love responding. So I loved being on podcasts, especially when we sold Love Powered Co. I did a whole PR podcast tour. I was on over 100 podcasts, and that was easy. You know, there's no prep really, because it's your story. You know what you're talking about, what you're bringing to the table. But also like podcasting, it's a large investment of time and money. Like, yes, the team is editing, but I'm still choosing the social clips. I'm doing all the like, you know, banners right now and all the marketing and promotion of it and etc, but it's so fueling. So why do you believe podcasting is a form of community building, and which founders should go ahead and launch their podcasts?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think podcasting is like the biggest community building hack ever. Like, and even I say this all the time. Like I would never stop doing my podcast, even if I had 1 download a week, like, because like it's the network. Like you have the opportunity to have conversations with people who you might never have the opportunity to have 100%. Because you have the platform, the space. And, you know, it's not often, very rarely, I've probably seen it 2 or 3 times where somebody has actually asked me, like, how many downloads do you have? Like, and that, let me see if it's worth it to come on. No, like even big name, like I've had amazing guests. You've had amazing guests, and people are not coming after us asking how many downloads we have, because it's about that platform, right? And so I think it's such an incredible community building hack from that perspective. And then from the listener perspective, which hopefully you do have some downloads, which most of us do. Yeah. You and I do, which is great. But what I will say is the best part is like you are right in your listeners' ears, right? Like you are there showing up over and over again. You're consistent. You are like having the opportunity to educate. They hear you all the time. I cannot tell you how many times I have been on a call with someone where they've like quoted me, like, which makes me feel like I'm Oprah, but like, it's like, they're like, oh, like you said this in your podcast and I love that. Or I was listening to your podcast about LinkedIn and I tried this and I want to do this and I want to do that. And so it's super interesting. And so I think what I would say is it's such a great authority building tool. So from that perspective, I would say in terms of founders who should do it, one, you have enough steam for it. That's the big thing. So most podcasts don't get past 10 episodes because it's just too much work. Yes. And so actually, to be honest, that's a huge stat. It's like 80% or something like that.
Wow.
But in my experience, we've launched close to 60 podcasts. Most of them, I can't think of one that stopped at 10, right? So it's great because people, I think with the help, can really keep the momentum going. When you're trying to do it all yourself, it can feel like a lot. So what I will say is you have the steam for it. And two is you have the message. You don't want to just go on, and I'm a messy starter. This is like part of my personality. I don't know. I don't know why I'm this way.
We have to check your human design again.
Yeah. I'll send you my chart after this.
Yes,
but like, I am somebody who like, I have an idea and I'm like, it's time. And I go and I just get started. So I was like, I gave my team like, 3 years ago, I was like, hello, I'd like to start a podcast next Tuesday. I'm wondering if one of you could make me some cover art. Another one of you do this. And then everyone did it. And I had a cold and I recorded my intro. And one of my employees was actually like, do you think maybe you could wait until the cold's done? And I was like, no, like it's time. But I just had this idea. And actually what I would say is my podcast suffered at the beginning in terms of downloads, even though I had some audience and had some, like not what I do now, but because I wasn't super clear on the message. I was like, oh, we're talking about like community and like digital stuff and social and whatever. And I would let anybody on my podcast, like someone would be like, oh, I want to talk about this. And I'd be like, come on, like, let's talk about boundaries. Like, and it just didn't make sense.
Yes.
And so when Ben on my team, who I know you're familiar with, he's amazing. He basically was like, we need to cut these like random episodes and you need to be very clear. Like these are the things you're allowed to talk about. Like, let's like go through it. Yeah. So Ben and I kind of worked out a plan and my downloads doubled.
Amazing.
And then continued to grow. But it was because I was very clear on my message. So what I would say is clarity of message is really important. Yeah. You have to earn breath. Mm-hmm. Like you don't get the opportunity to like go right off the bat. You want to earn people's trust first. So I think if you have a good message, I think that that's a great place to start.
Okay, that's amazing. And then what do you suggest in terms of, and I'll kind of give the behind the scenes here. So I knew I needed a team. So the social snippet right away only spoke to you guys. I was like, we're in, let's do this. I spoke to Ben and Michaela and I was like, okay, I want to be top ranked. I want to be, top ranked.
And you were.
We were
what number were you?
Number 4 on launch day.
4. I think that's the highest I've ever seen. That's the highest I've ever seen.
It was epic. So I was like, okay, I want to be ranked top 100 in entrepreneurship. And it's not like I've maintained the top 200, but there's been several weeks that we keep popping back up in the charts, which I think I'm really happy with. And then I'm like, I want 100 reviews by the end of the year, which I thought we didn't hit, but we actually did. Like when I go to Apple Podcasts, it only shows me Canadian reviews.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. So when I actually added Australia, Mexico, Canada, US, we're over 100 reviews.
Yay.
And I want to bring and I don't like pedestals, like that's not what I'm here for, but I'm like, I want to bring, and I'll say thought leaders, but what I mean is experience, right? So at least people have been in business for a while and they have the proven results, whether it's in, experience, revenue, connections, etc., to bring a message to the table. And so that really was, I knew that I wanted the experience on this show because that's what I'm seeking for. So it's like every conversation I have, basically each guest is mentoring me while they're mentoring the audience. And that's really what fueled me to be here and is fueling me to be here for the long term because it's that mutual benefit of growth and expansion. And so now I don't know why I started this rant, but the intention of the podcast, but I couldn't have done it without the team. And I think when you say, 80% of pods don't go past 10 episodes, now like there's a team behind me. Like one is I can't let the team down. I can't let myself down. I can't let now the audience who's showed up week after week to listen to the show down. And so it like keeps that momentum. But like you said, intentionality, message, and then I would set some goals with it. So this is kind of where I'm at. I'd love to talk monetization. So how quickly did you monetize your podcast? You've actually supported me in monetizing the podcast as well. Thank you so much, which is part of, right, this connection, relationship building. When you have brands coming to you, you're like, okay, well, now I have these 60 podcasts under my umbrella. Who does this brand work well with that I can make an introduction to and support the monetization? Because really it is a product. I look at podcasting as a product. So
100%.
Take it away.
Well, I was going to say, it's so mutually beneficial for the brands as well. Just like a quick note, which I think is this whole reciprocity thing, which is when a brand reaches out to me to be like, do my podcast or whatever, to sponsor, I will always ask them, like, are you looking for other podcasts? And they always say yes, because like they didn't just like find me randomly. Right. So and then they're always elated when I introduce them to people. Like it's like I have done God's work for them, and they are so grateful, which then in turn is a better partnership for me. So it's all win-win, where it's like you get some sponsorship, I get some sponsorship, I helped a few other people with that one as well, and then more to come, right? So it's great. And I think monetization, one of the things that people need to think about is there's two kind of ways to monetize a podcast. Well, there's many, but two are the main ones. One is where it's traditional monetization, which is things like an ad, right? Yeah. So you and I have both done this. We have some great partnerships where, someone will come, I'll say, this is how much it costs per episode. You can sponsor it. And I really use that. And like, I'll be honest, and I'm just going to tell you this for people who are like limiting beliefs on themselves. People are not asking me for download numbers for that. That has been my experience. And not that I'm trying to swindle people, but I think people think you need to be like, if they ask, I tell them. I'm not like trying to hide them, but like, I have nothing to hide. But it's like, I think it's really about the story that you position them as, right? So I typically, if I want to monetize with a brand, I'll do some social media assets with it. Or I even you can really leverage your Love Powered Co-sale. Like this year, like my podcast won like Outstanding Business Series for Canadian Podcast Awards. So like I use that as leverage, right? So you can really like tell the story. So you can do traditional monetization. And the way that usually starts is about at 1,000 downloads a month. Okay. So that's where you're able to even, on a platform like Buzzsprout or something, which is what I use, you're able to add in ads. People would pay you for them. It's very simple. I'm going to tell you that's not going to pay your mortgage. Like you're not going to be making like cash monies. So
like no money gun?
No money gun. But no money gun here. But that's where brands will pay a little bit more than some of the like ad placements will. But like, so if you have brand partnerships, that's a great way to do it. I would say, leverage an email newsletter, leverage like your community in some way. We leverage High Vibe Women. There's lots of ways to do it that way. Yeah. But the second way to monetize, which I think is actually the more holistic way when you're an entrepreneur, is you're actually monetizing your own offers. And so that's where you can add in an ad for something that you're doing. I think you did this with your retreat. Yeah. I've done this with like a lot of my stuff where, I might not have a sponsor that month and I'll be like, okay, well, what am I selling? And I will use it as an opportunity to get people into our High Vibe Women online community or to our event, or I'll use a client testimonial or something like that to try to talk about our offers. Yeah. And that is a great way. So even if you've got, 50 downloads a month off of your podcast or like per episode or whatever it is, like you have these engaged people who are choosing you every time. So when someone chooses to listen to Anna's podcast, they're choosing that podcast over mine, right? Yeah. When they're choosing my podcast, they're choosing mine over another. Yep. They are choosing you. And so they're listening, those ears are going. And so you have the opportunity to monetize your own offer. So talking about lead magnets, I've had it where I had somebody out of the friggin' blue sign up for something like a retreat I ran. She was from like California. And I was like, how did you find this retreat? And she's like, I've been listening to your podcast for like 2 years and you just mentioned it. And so I went for it. Where you have no idea who's listening. You have no idea. I just want to tell you guys, for you guys to listen, you have no idea whose vision board you're on. Where someone is listening to your podcast, listening to you speak, listening to you on social, and they're like waiting for the opportunity to work for you. So you never know when that's going to strike. So I know that's true for many of you. So I would say, those are kind of the two main ways to monetize.
I love that. I love that. I mean, obviously the third one we can add to is like affiliate links. So if you have a brand that you love, that's kind of how I started out. I had Gut Personal. So on the back end, we had 15% commission per sale of product. That's obviously a longer term plus a volume game. So if you're just starting out and don't have yet the audience, that might not be, again, you're not paying the mortgage with that, but also I think it all comes down to experience. You have an experience recording an ad. You have now a brand building partnership experience with the brand that you're working with. So go ahead and pitch yourself. I think like I'm all about it. Like, why not ask, right? That's a big thing.
Yeah. You are like, why not ask? Anna is like, why not ask? And honestly, but it's like, I have seen you do crazy things, like, and crazy, like in the best way, like even like, I'm just going to say one of
Yes,
them,
please
like,
say it. Cause I don't remember.
Okay. Having Jillian Harris on your podcast. Like that's insane. And I remember actually, Anna, so funny. I remember you met her at Pink Skirt, right?
Yes. Well, we sat next to each other on stage.
Okay. And then I saw you comment on one of her reels or something being like, or like you post a story being like, would love to have Jillian on the podcast. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't think Jillian does podcasts, but like all the best, Anna. Like, just didn't even think about it. Like I like not in a negative way, just like in a. And then my team, like Josh, my husband, they're like, oh, like, like Jillian Harris, ex Anna Lozano. And I'm like, what? Like, and then I saw you get back in the charts when she shared it in her stories, right? And it's like, I am sure that took a level of persistence, like of being like, hello, Jillian, like I'd like to have you on my podcast. But, and I know she doesn't say yes to everybody because I know people who pitched her, but it's like, you have like this audacity. And I think with podcasting, that's actually really important is like, that's how I got like, my relationship with Chris and Lori is now different. But when I was like a mentee, I would go to Chris and I was like, I'll rent a studio. Like, I'll rent a studio, please. I'll make it close to your house. I'll come to Arizona. I just want to interview you. And he was like, yeah, sounds good. Like, I don't think it had to even be that complicated. But it's like, you just need to make the ask. It does really help, grow your podcast and ultimately your community.
Oh, you need to make the ask. And I do want to share a little bit of the behind the scenes. So Rochelle, who we've already dropped earlier. So Rochelle Sable of Sable Row, she's actually behind 4 of my brands, including Love Powered Co. and the Prosperity Playground podcast. She's besties with Allie, who of Inspire and Move, who's a mutual friend, who also works with Lori and Chris. Anyway, so many mutual contacts. So when Rochelle and her team were doing the branding for the podcast, I said, please create for me these visualization graphics of my dream guests. And one of them was Jillian Harris. So, they're doing the cover art for the episodes. And I have me and Jillian Harris. I have myself and Jamie Kern-Lima. I had Lori Harder and just, some of my other dream guests. And majority of them, I would say, all but Jamie Kern-Lima and Dan Martell have been on the show. And so there's this process of like deliberate intention, like, hey, this is what I desire, universe. And I'm putting it out there, and then I'm just surrendering. Like, I'm not going to be attached. I'm not going to be needy. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to make the ask, and then my energy is going to retract. So we've done the work. We're excited, and we're not gripping, right? It's like that gripping again that makes you like have that ick factor. So then I send the email. Okay. So I started recording for the podcast early May to launch June 17th. And I'm sending out these invitations. I'm getting my yeses. So Lori Harder, one of the first yeses, I knew I wanted her as episode 1. Jessica Zweig, episode 2. Kate Northrup, Neil Donald Walsh, like dream guest saying yes. Yes. I get rejected from Jillian. And I am like, you should ask my husband. Like, I was heartbroken, but not a rejection of like, no, she's not interested. Just she's extremely busy. She's planning her wedding this summer. So please touch base in the fall. But I had already visualized her as my launch guest. So here's where I put my practice, like all my tools into practice. And I'm like, okay, God, universe, I trust the timing of this. She's not meant to be a launch guest, and it's okay. So then get this. So, Renee Warren and I are good friends. She's on the podcast also. She's like, you're going to be on the panel. And I'm like, oh my God, what an honor. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And she's like, Jillian's going to be on the panel too. I'm like, fuck yes. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. So we get on the panel and I was like, I need to take this opportunity to thank Jillian. Like, so we had been preparing the panel, right? We had the questions and the questions I received. I mean, there really was no opportunity for me to like touch Jillian's arm and be like, thank you for everything that you do for female founders in Canada, because literally she changes businesses. She changes brands.
Absolutely.
And that's the experience we had with her in Love Powered Co. And so I was like, however this is meant to come out, again, I'm being guided, I'm being led, let me be the vessel, let's do this. So I literally like, first of all, I'm placed right next to her on the panel. Duh, right? Like, hello, thank you, divine intervention. So I placed my like hand on her hand and I'm like, just so grateful for everything she does for, again, Canadian female founded businesses. And so we get off stage. I'm like, that was amazing. So fun, like small talk. And I was like, I'd love to have you on the podcast at some point. She knew exactly what I was talking about. She's like, reach out to my assistant, tell her that I said that we need to get this on the books. This was June. Remember, she had her whole like royalty Canadian wedding in August. That was in Hello Magazine. We literally record the day after the Canadian like country music awards. So it's just insane. It's insane.
Speechless. But this is how it works. It's always about timing. Like it's always about timing. And I think one of the lessons here, like I think, and Anna probably knows this better than anyone, but it's like a no is not a no forever.
This is
and when you show up with integrity and you show up consistently and like with kindness, like where it's like even with us, like you were like, I'd love to speak, and I was like, so sorry, all my speakers are done, but like keep in touch, kind of thing. Let's see where this goes, and then now it's going somewhere, right? But like it's about the right time, and sometimes it's like a no is so not even about you. Like Jillian's schedule is like. I had a similar experience with an entrepreneur who I'm interviewing shortly, and like she's a big name, and I had emailed, and I kept being like, oh, the fall, oh, in the winter, oh, in the spring, and then I met her in person, and I was like, listen, like, she's like, you look so familiar, and I'm like, it's my email. I want you on this podcast, and she was like, yeah, just DM me directly.
Yeah.
And I was like, for sure, I DM'd her, it's booked, right? So I think it's like, sometimes it is about that in-person magic, but it's also holding on to the vision of it and not being bitter. Like if someone says no to being on your podcast, no to having you speak, no to like doing something, a coffee chat even, not about you.
It's not about you. Yes. And okay, you're human, like feel the rejection, but then move past it, because it turned out way better than I could have ever expected, because I had so many amazing guests in that launch period that this was like the second boost for Q4. Like, everything works out better than we can ever plan. Oh my gosh. Okay. We could keep talking forever. I'm going to scrap like half my notes, but I do want we got to have a part 2, because we don't have time to dive into social media right now, because I want to talk about investing in yourself. So that's something that you do. You're committed to, devoted to. When did you take that big leap to invest in Lori's and Chris's community? You're investing thousands of dollars into your business, but you saw the power of that. So when should entrepreneurs start investing in themselves? And talk to us about like some of the like evidence, magic, and miracles that you could have never predicted from making some of those larger investments that maybe felt really uncomfortable in the moment.
I have literally never made an investment that hasn't had ROI, like a room I've been in. So it's like, actually, Chris asked me this the other day in California. He was like, how many rooms have you been in like that, didn't turn into anything? And I went through every single one and I didn't have one.
Wow.
And I think the magic of it is really the way that I show up and like, in that service. So those of you who've been listening from the beginning. Yeah. But what I will say is early on, the way that I invested, I had a lot of belief in the fact that it was on me to see results. I don't blame coaches. When I join something, I have joined masterminds where at the end of it, I'm like, that woman literally didn't do anything. And that was fascinating. Lesson. Like, good for me to know for how I facilitate a room. Like I see everything as opportunity and it's my responsibility to be in a room and be in community with others and show up and get what I need out of it. I don't place any responsibility on hosts. Like when I go to an event, I have been to events with 1,000 people that I've gotten ROI. I've been to events with 5 people that I've gotten ROI. So it's really about that. Yeah. I would say the stage of business to invest in yourself, I think there is something to doing it when it feels scary, but not so much where it feels scary and you can't eat.
Yeah.
And I think that's there are people who are very predatory online who will tell you terror barrier, go up against it, whatever. My first big investment, I did a Bob Proctor thinking into results, which was a lot of my mindset work, I think, at the beginning.
I love Bob.
And I think the investment, It was 12,500. And I remember like we were like making like $5,000 a month. This was like a side hustle.
Yeah.
But I had just sold an income property. And I had some cash. And would I have done that on a credit card? Maybe not.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's about really asking yourself like what is like reasonable for you, but also like sometimes you have to make those investments. So December 31st, like right before I just wrapped up, I'm like in one day I spent $16,000 on communities. Like, and not just one, like a few things I'm in, like, you know, where I was like, okay, I'm paying in full for that. And I'm going to do this, like, that I'm going to put on a payment plan. And like, even though I have a 7-figure business, right? So it's like trying to figure out what the right investments are. But I would say start small. So I would say like, if you are looking to invest with a coach or whatever, do a 1-hour session with them, listen to their podcast, get a sense for their vibe, ask people about it. Yeah. And really just, I think learn from that and then grow from there.
So good. Yeah. I was specifically looking for community for 2026 as we go into launch phase of Maya Pickleball. And I asked you, I'm like, what do you think about these communities? And, you know, I had a handful of names and I ended up joining Founders Club. So thank you so much for the nomination. I'm really excited. It feels like exactly what I need in this stage of growth and versus, you know, and I'm all about coaches, but I feel like the community of founders where in this specific community, a lot of them are product based, which I love and I was specifically looking for. So thank you for that. Okay, before rapid fire, I'm wondering, what do you think the most successful community-led brands will do differently in the next 2 to 3 years?
The thing I think they'll do is in person. Like, I think people are moving back on offline. I think we're going to be seeing more activations. We're going to be seeing people show up in person. We're going to be seeing people doing things in real life, bringing in their communities and really leveraging that. I think influencers are only going to grow from there. And I think we're seeing like even like an uptick in like things like sponsorship, that kind of stuff where people are going to be really, really in person. And so if you have an online brand, that doesn't mean that's a bad thing. But I just think like, where can you actually take it in person, whether that be in-person coffee chats or in-person events, whatever that looks like. I think that's our future.
100%. And with like the rise of AI and, you know, you can smell the inauthenticity online where it's like, oh, this just doesn't feel like as connected as you could be, where you can right away pick up on that energy in person. You'll know who your people are. You'll gravitate naturally towards them. And then that's your opportunity to build those relationships. So fully in agreement. Okay. Rapid fire. You ready?
Ooh, ready.
Your team's going to kill me. We're going to be over an hour. No, I'm joking.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
All right. So if you were rebuilding your community from scratch today, knowing everything you know now, what would you do first?
In-person coffee chats locally.
And what number? How many people?
I try to do one every day.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, meet someone new every day.
Love. If you had to choose one, in person or online community?
Oh my God. Okay, I will say I love Founders Club. I have a big heart for Founders Club. So many diverse founders in there, which is absolutely incredible. And all people at all different stages of business and so expansive for me, so far ahead of me.
So good. First thing you notice when you walk into a event?
Truthfully, it's the vibe of the people. Yeah. It's like, are people like, you know, joyous? Like how are they talking? Like, you know, are they happy? Because I've been to events where people are gremlins. So it's like, you really want to looking for joy.
One sentence that instantly builds trust in a conversation at an event.
What can I do to bring you closer to your goal?
Yeah. You said that before. That was gold. Say it again.
What can I do to bring you closer to your goal?
So good. Someone you'd love to have on stage at High Vibe Women.
I had so many people. Oh my goodness. It used to always be Jenna Kutcher. I don't know why, like Jenna was like the person that comes up for me all the time. I'm trying to wrangle Lori over.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think, or Sarah Blakely.
Yes. We need Sarah. Yes.
We need Sarah on this podcast. Just DM her. I think if anyone's getting her, it's you.
Fingers crossed. Okay. I feel like right now my 3 dream guests are like Kim Perrell, Sarah Blakely, Jamie Kern-Lima. So I'm declaring it here.
Said it.
A thought leader you'd love to have brunch with, just you and him or her.
Oh my goodness. These are such good questions. I'm like, I'm like blank. Like, I think, okay, so I will say Jasmine Star, just because I think her and I have a very similar vibe. And she's grown some cool stuff. So I think her.
And she is someone who responds personally to DMs,
Yeah.
which I love. One content trend you're personally over.
Oh my God, dancing on reels. I'm like just so over people dancing or being asked to dance.
Love it. Best ROI investment you've ever made, which I know what you're going to say.
Chris and Lori's community.
Complete this sentence. A powerful community is built on
Strong leadership.
Beautiful. And finally, what's your definition of prosperity?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, it's the opportunity to serve others and like see people in their full potential and like getting to be just even a small part of that.
So beautiful. So beautiful. So we have a code for High Vibe Women. It's Anna50 for $50 off. And March 7th is the event at Pearl in downtown Burlington, which is a gorgeous location. What do you want to share about the event?
Yes, it's going to be absolutely amazing. We like are already like well over 65% sold out. So I'm so excited. Anna will actually be speaking at this one, which I'm so excited about. She is going to be on an amazing panel with some kick-ass entrepreneurs about scaling your business. Because when I thought about that topic, Anna was one of the first people that came to mind for me. And I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. So I'm so excited for her to share all of her wisdom with you and all of the other speakers. But really, again, it's about the people in the room. And I think we attract some of the most amazing women. So I can't wait to see you there. So use the code Anna50 and hope to see you guys on March 7th.
I agree. I love that. Thank you so much. And where can we all find you and how can we support you? So let us know one specific way we can support you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah. So best on Instagram, you can find me at Kristina.Bartold or on LinkedIn. I spell my name with a K because I'm Polish like Anna. And then the other little connection. And then where in terms of support, I would say really why don't you maybe downloading my podcast, the community podcast. I talk all things marketing, events, social. I'm so bad at the ask. I like so
I know. I'm get it, girl.
I'm like glitching out over here. I'm like, I can't ask people for things. I ask people what they need. But see, I'm practicing the muscles. So yeah, if you want to download my podcast, and I'll be on it shortly. I'm so excited for our episode there too. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so honored.
Amazing. Here to serve. Like I love serving you too. You know, when I asked you that and you said something specific, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to make it my mission to deliver this to you. Remember? And then you got the email introductions. I was like, this is amazing. Actually, so Danielle Amos, who I made an introduction to, who I'm excited for you to connect with, she is all things Bob Proctor. So I didn't realize you had that in common as well, which is amazing.
We connected last week.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Yeah. I love it. Kristina, thank you for being here. We definitely need a part 2, and I will see you in March in Burlington.
Can't wait. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Prosperity Playground podcast. If this conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts so you never miss your weekly activation. If you enjoyed the conversation, please rate and review. Your feedback helps us reach more souls just like you who are ready to calibrate to their most prosperous life. Know someone who needs this frequency boost? Share the episode to Instagram and tag me at _Anna Lozano so we can grow our energetically aligned community together. And please remember, true prosperity is about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Start today. I'm Anna Lozano, and this is the Prosperity Playground. See you on the next activation.